Hey investor, now just the other week I went to the public notary office to sign for several of my newly acquired properties. If you also follow me on LinkedIn, Facebook and Instagram, you most probably have seen this post that you see over here. Now in this video today, I will share my story on why I believe that investing in real estate in 2021 is still the best idea and that brings huge opportunities even for you with a step-by-step guide. My name is Lucas, and as an investor from excelwealth.com, I like to share interesting topics on investing, real estate, and personal finance just with you. And if you stay until the end today, I'll even share with you how I got my properties arranged. If you're still thinking that should I be investing in real estate or not, well, first take a look at your own current situation, because you got to ask the question, where do you live? Or what do you own? Now in this case, there are a few options. The first option is if you still live at home, because if you're just a student and you haven't been able to buy a home yet and you still live with your parents, for example, but you do have a job, for example, that could also be a possibility. Now, I do hope that this is not going to be a permanent situation. This is a great situation for you to be starting from because you will be able to save up some more money because you don't have to pay that many bills. Use this as a head start. Go out and buy your first real estate property as an investment. Now, the second option that you have is, for example, that you live by yourself or even maybe together with your life partner. But the place that you live at is a rental place. You do pay your landlord each month. Again, this situation is also not a bad idea. There are some ways for you to get started. For example, if you like the place where you live and you wouldn't mind staying in this particular place for another 5 to 10 years, well, maybe it's not a bad idea to talk to your landlord if he's willing to sell the place to you. Now, the only obstacle people tend to see here is, this is that if you do this, you believe that the landlord might rip you off. But I don't know what country you're in, but here in the Netherlands, companies and real estate investors still have some rules to stick to. When selling a property like this to their tenants, the prices a landlord asks must be according to market standards. So if the current market sells a similar property, for example, for $150 for the actual property, the landlord is not allowed to ask all of a sudden $250,000 for the property, as that is not realistic. But a margin of about 10%, that's allowed, meaning that a landlord could ask up to $165,000 for the property that you live in. What you notice very often is that renting a place is slightly cheaper than when you're purchasing a similar home in the exact same location. And most likely there's a very clear reason for you why you're renting a property versus buying a property. If you're able to save up some money each and every month, you're still able to get started in real estate investing. The third option is when you already own a property by yourself or maybe together with your life partner. Maybe while you have one or multiple kids. Now, in all the coaching clients that I've had, this option is the most interesting one. You already own a property. That means you are most likely sitting on some equity value. Paying off a mortgage just means you're actually putting your money into stone. Now I get it, many people do believe that paying off a mortgage is a good thing. But to get back to this point of the option, the moment you have a property, that just means you're sitting on quite some money already that you can leverage very, very soon. Because the next question that I would like to answer is, how do I get started on the real estate investment market? In order to generate money, you need money to start out with. The question is, how do you get started? Now, I always say the starting capital for investing in real estate is around $40,000 to $50,000. If you live at home, you most probably have low expenses and you're able to save quite some money each and every month. And if you set your mind to it, you should be able to save up this amount in maybe 2 or 3 years. And then you should be able to buy your first investment property. Now, thinking about the second option, when you live in a rental property, same idea. See if it's possible to save up money to buy your first property. Again, if you do this, you should be able to save this amount in a few years' time. And yes, in the end, it is about discipline, because even if you're able to buy a rental property right now, it is also the discipline not to use the rental income that you get each and every month. Now, the third option is when you already own that property. Like I mentioned before, most probably you already sit on quite some equity that you can take out and use. What you should do is have your home reappraised by a real estate appraiser. He will be able to give you an estimate of how much your home is currently worth. And with the amount of the mortgage that you already have, in most cases you will always have a little bit of money in equity. And that money you could take out and use to buy your first property. Now, this picture, here I signed for several properties, and you have to see it like this. I started my real estate journey about a decade ago, and I was just a regular school teacher. And I know that I've taught many people and inspired many people throughout the years. But if you can stick to a discipline and keep doing the same thing day in, day out, life can become very easy and relaxed the moment you know you can do this. Because that's the moment you'll be able to inspire other people with the things that you seem so normal to you. Now, I started out by just saving my money as well. I lived at home with my parents in my case, and I saved my money for about 3 years before I was able to buy my first rental property. And that is when the ball started rolling. Instead of just spending the money that I got from my rental properties, I would save that up next to all the savings that I got from my salary. And I just saved it up to buy my next property. And now, 10 years later, I visit the public notary office. I visit this office several times in a year to sign for new properties. Or I go there to sign and receive money from a reappraisal. And since you stayed until the end, I would like to share with you how I got all my properties arranged. Now, normally you would go to the public notary office when you do a purchase of a home. But in my case, I bulk them. Now, this is why this picture of mine that you saw is, I was going to the public notary office once and we signed for multiple properties at the same time. Now, this is time efficient. That's one thing. But it also saves me cost because the solicitor only needs to be paid once instead of being paid for each and every time that we go there. So let me just quickly describe my situation when I buy a real estate property. Instead of saying, let's purchase a property as fast as we can, I always ask the seller if he needs more time. And then, of course, set a date several months into the future. For example, like 6 or maybe 9 months from the moment that we agree that I'm going to buy his property. Now, why do I do that? Well, that's because at the same time, I can look for more properties, and once I find new properties, I can also tell those sellers so that the same date for signing at the public notary's office as well. And this is how I bulk multiple properties at one time. This will also give me the power to exactly know how much money I need for that particular signing moment of transfer of ownership. As an investor, it's always nice to know exactly how much and what you need to do and how much to expect instead of guessing and thinking this should be the amount that I need. That's what we don't know, because this way I can keep full control of all the situations that all happen around me, and I can even get time to find some good tenants who will be living in those properties from that moment on. And this is what I wanted to share with you today, why investing in real estate is still a great idea still in 2021. I thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you in the next. Happy investing.